So today we have our legacy spotlight, and this is Mr. J. Pat Richmond. And so, as far as WT goes, particularly for the College of Business, I would argue that you're one of our more influential people. And so, I know that's a big statement, but you have been our Ambassador Award winner. You have been on the foundation board for the university. Every time I think I find a new place, you're already on the board there. So you're pretty much everywhere. So, thank you for being here with us today. And can you tell us how'd you come to interact with WT?
Well, WT is kind of our family's university.
Okay.
My grandmother, I think she started going to school here about 1912, back when her dad was a rancher and there were no schools. So great grandma came and brought the kids, and they all went to school here. And then she got a teaching degree, probably I think 1925, something like that.
Nice. So it'd be fourth generation, third generation WT?
Third, we've got four generations going now. Someone's going continuously.
That's
And
awesome.
then my dad played football here in the 40s.
Cool. What position?
He was an end.
And okay.
And one of the neat cool deals was during our 100th anniversary, during the slideshow, had a picture of him in action.
That's awesome.
So first time I'd ever seen it.
I think you've shown me that picture
Yeah,
before.
pretty cool.
That is awesome. And so you also just told me about a cool thing you just found. Do you want to tell me what that was? It was the new thing.
Oh yes, I was going through some books and or packages and found a mint condition 1920 WT annual. It was my grandmother's her freshman year, so that was a little bit different back then.
Just a touch.
Yeah.
If you they're off screen. I don't know if you can see them in the shot or not, but we have some from the 40s and the 60s. So I'll be,
Well, they've changed. It was about that thick.
there are probably a couple less people. Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you you are a big supporter of sports in general at this institution, and so is there any sort of a tie or a story you want to tell about the sports or something that you've had experience from here?
Most fun things I like to do is our basketball seats are right behind the bench,
Nice.
and sometimes we help the coach visit with the referees and stuff. But it's just fun to watch the Lady Buffs and the Buffs play basketball. It's real something my wife and I really enjoy. So
Nice. Do we have you an assistant coach jersey yet?
not yet,
Oh.
not yet.
So you were a student here a couple times as a new student. Is that a fair statement to say?
Yes, about 35 years apart. Uh-huh.
Yeah. So there's a bit of a gap there. Can you tell me about either of those experiences? Anything that the first time and then the repeat?
Well, first time I came, it was a great experience, and I enjoyed everything from the fraternity side to all the activities, and I just didn't really get that involved in the academic side.
Mm-hmm.
And then one day I had a note to come see the dean, and I thought, well, that's neat. The dean wants to see me.
That's got to be positive.
And anyway, he suggested I might take a semester off, uh, which started my career that I had for 46 years. But the second time was in my company. I handled a lot of business for the Glazer family. You know, a lot of money and all this and that. And I was meeting with the Glazer family and Robert Glazer, who is I started a scholarship in his name. We were talking, and he says, "Pat, I can't remember what university did you graduate from?" And I said, "Mr. Glazer, I didn't graduate." And he said, "Well, why?" He said, "I'll pay for it." So I kept thinking about that. Then I got on the bandwagon. When I would interview people, I'd make sure they had their education, and I'd get them started with us paying for it. And then one day I looked up, I had two MBAs reporting to me and all sorts of baccalaureates, people in school. And I thought, I'm expecting a lot more out of my employees than I am myself.
Mm-hmm.
So I went and enrolled eventually once I found out how to do it. And then went back to school, and it took me 5 years to get my degree. So 3 hours here, 6 hours there, every semester for 5 years, and made some great friends.
Mm-hmm.
And anyway, it's probably one of the greatest experiences I've ever had in my life. And once I got my degree, the relationships I've made and what I could do to be a part of this university and doing what I can do, what little part I can do, uh, it's just, I'm just overwhelmed by what's happened. So, and I'm here to help.
Yeah. Well, and you do a great job. I mean, like I said, you're everywhere, and you're helping out everywhere you can. So you touched on a few things I want to touch on. So your 46-year career was at Glazers Distributors.
Hmm.
Okay, and you started a scholarship from that, and you have two scholarships with the college.
Hmm.
And so those are huge impacts on the students as well as I know they have a positive effect towards you. Is there any times that you've had a letter from the scholarships or anything that really had an emotional tie or a big
Oh
impact on you?
yeah, yeah. We've had some great letters come back, and I started the Robert Glazier scholarship because I saw a need, and I was mostly going to school at night, and I would see these kids that were in their 30s and 40s, and had two or three kids of their own, and working full time, trying to get their degree. And I remember one time this young lady was trying to get through, and she said, "I just don't know if I can come next semester because I don't have the money." And so I got with Dr. Demond and talked to him, told him what I wanted to do, and we started this scholarship, and it was for you know students that were working full time, and on a business degree, and so it's, I guess, gosh dang, 18 years now probably we've done this. So, and it's helped a lot of people. I'd mentioned I'm on the College of Business board right now, and Dr. Albie brought that scholarship up, and two of the younger guys on the board raised their hands, says, "Well, we received it." So, and it's great to see the kids that got it, uh, what they've done and how they've progressed in their career. And I had checked one time on the percentage of graduates we had on that, and it was a very high percentile. So that makes you feel good.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you have especially with a scholarship that's focused on full time. You're
Hmm.
a lot of times you're driven, right? I mean, you were driven to
Uh,
come back, and
I was working full time.
yeah. And so when you came back, you had an interaction with a couple of faculty, and then you met a faculty who became a lifelong friend in Terry Pearson.
Right.
Is there a story you have about Terry? Or
Yeah, there is. As a matter of fact, it's when I didn't know where to go. Finally went to the registrar's office, and they went somewhere down in a cellar, and they found my records, and there wasn't much there. But I went over. I just walked over to the College of Business. I didn't know what to do, and I heard some professors talking, and went in and told them what I wanted to do, and I wanted to go back to school. And anyway, they said, "Well, you need to go see Dr. Pearson. He's in the last office down there." So I went in and met him, and we got to talking, and he looked at my transcript and went, "Phew." And he said, "How serious are you?" I said, "I'm real serious." He said, "Then we've got a lot of work to do." And we did. He was just my mentor for 5 years, as a matter of fact. And we got to where we would play tricks on each other and do different things. And so one morning, I was on that 5:55 flight to Dallas, and in meetings all day. Got back to the airport. It was a little bit late. Then I landed about 7. I think classes started at 7. And I ran over here. And Dr. Pearson didn't like people to be late for his class. And I walked in, I had a suit on. And I walked in, I had to walk all the way around the back. And so I got in there, and he goes, "Let's let Mr. Executive go sit down here." So I went and sat down, and I'm listening to the lecture for a little bit, and then I fell asleep. And the next thing I remember is, "I'm not sure about that. Let's defer that question to Mr. Richmond." I had no idea what the question was. Anyway, after class, I said, "What are you doing?" He said, "Well, that was funny, wasn't it?"
It's good to have good relationships
Yeah.
with the faculty, and you've had the chance to be around a lot of faculty, and
Yes.
so I know for a fact that you've had a really good interaction with some of our faculty that are still here, like Dr. Macy Terry,
Yes.
Ann.
Hmm.
Would be an easier way to say it. That's why I got kind of fumbled there. But so you do some with Ann's class on occasion. Can you tell me a little
I
bit about
did. Ann got with me, and she had some a master levels course, and she wanted to know if I would do a wine tasting. And I said, "Of course." And she says, "Well, I want to teach these people how to get into the world, and you know order the right things, and you know and not embarrass themselves. She had an experience where she kind of had ordered at a deal. She ordered a Coke and had a straw in it or something like that. I said, we can do that. So we had a good time doing that, and I'll never forget. I come up down here and I had my little roller cart, had a full case of wine in it, and it was all zipped up. I thought I could have never imagined I'd be rolling a case of wine down the College of Business Hall. So, but we went in and we set up, and first thing I told Ann was, I want everybody's driver's license right up here, and I want to look at them. make sure they're old enough. So we got to tasting wines, and of course she's just talking all this about that. And, well, listen, blah blah blah, and I'm talking about how one tastes like, you can taste the oak, or you can taste the cherry, or well, listen that. And Ann goes, I don't taste that. I said, well, you've got a underdeveloped palate. Oh my God. She has never let me forget that. So, yeah, J-Pat says I have an underdeveloped palate. So anyway, that was a funny deal. We had a good time. Everyone did, and took notes, and hopefully it helped them.
Yeah, I mean, that's a big part of business, right? Is you go out and you don't really want to go to the bar and order a Boone's Farm.
No, not exactly, no.
Though delicious it may be.
Yes.
So even though I stumbled a little bit, so Dr. Terry and you have had a pretty decent relationship throughout your time.
We have.
So any fun stuff you want to talk about him?
Well,
we can edit out some of the bad stuff too later.
Well, Dr. Terry is just an excellent person, and we became. I never had him for a class. We just kind of got to know each other, and I guess we have a professional relationship, but we also have a friendship, and I think an awful lot of him. He's done a lot of things for me that has helped me professionally that you can't even imagine. So that's my thought. That's my thoughts on Dr. Terry. I think he's just the top of the line guy, and I think an awful lot of him.
I hear tale that there might have been he might have been one of the people that had nominated you for an award. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yes, he did. He nominated me for in 2009 for the Distinguished Alumni Award.
And a well-deserved award. I mean, you are of the people around campus. I think everybody knows who you are and has interacted with you in a positive way in one way or another.
Well, that was to receive something of that nature from your peers and your teachers and professors is one of the most humbling experiences you can ever have.
Well, it's a big deal. I mean, you're. I'm glad that you're able to be recognized for all you've done for the college, the university, and everybody else. So, Dr. Abdullah and you are also reasonably close, right? Is there? What's your favorite Dr. Abdullah story?
Well, let's see. It was recent. It was recent. Beautiful. Yeah, it was recent. As a matter of fact, I was with you.
Oh no!
And
never mind.
we were doing the golf tournament.
Oh, okay.
Everybody knows the golf attire.
Yeah.
You know what that is. And I get a phone call. It says, get in your car and come get Dr. Abdullah. He wants to drive around and see everybody. Well, he is in a suit. He's in a coat and tie and this and that. we're riding around the golf course, and Dr. Abdullah's all dressed up.
Yeah, he was certainly noticeable because a couple people asked me after the tournament, like, who was that guy? Who's the guy in the tie? And
I'm supposed to teach him how to shoot here in a few weeks. So
I think that we need to make sure we have people out there to film that because
I think we should. Yeah, I think we should.
I think it'll look good. Another faculty that we both share having been very positive affect towards is Dr. Lavelle Mills. Can you tell me a little bit about your time with Dr. Mills? Is there? I think she had a pretty important impact on your time here at WT.
She did. I always called her my favorite professor. I just say, there's my favorite professor. And she's very nice. And just, I remember the first time we did the presentation of the Glazers Scholarship Award, I was in class. And I had no intentions that I was going to be able to do that. And she says, Pat, you've got a very important engagement across the street right now. So I went and made the presentation. But my story with her is I was taking a summer school class. It was a master's level class, and I was doing my little dissertation for the class, And that was about 15, 16 pages or whatever it was. And I'd come in from work and I started on it. It was about midnight. I got it finished. I hit send, but I actually hit delete. And I was so upset. And I just emailed her and I said, Dr. Mills, this is crazy. This is stupid. I don't need this degree. I'm done. I ain't got time. I quit. She was up on the computer. Immediately sent me an email back, says, I know you'll do the right thing. I went. So at 6 o'clock in the morning, I hit send and got it in, and then went and took a shower and went to work. That was my life for 5 years.
Oh, it's rewarding though to know that you could go through something like that,
Yeah.
but it is hard when people make you do the right thing.
Yep.
So so you touched on it too. So we worked together on a golf tournament, our first golf tournament. We're gonna have another one this coming year. But you're also you've hosted things for the foundation with shoots. And so for those unfamiliar with what that would be, can you tell us a little bit about that, your background with shooting and the events and things like that?
Well, I'm a competition trap shooter and sporting clays, more trap than sporting clays, but I've done that for 20 years or so, once my kids were gainfully employed. And I've won 7 state titles and a lot of zone titles. And, it's just sometimes you're lucky, sometimes you're not. But I really enjoy it. Enjoy it a lot. So when I was on the foundation board, talked to them about starting a shoot. We did. That was 8 years ago. And it was started very small. And then the next year, got my friend Jim J. Brewer got involved. And we've been working on it ever since and just did it this weekend. It was a tremendous success. So.
Yeah, and the best thing about those is those dollars go to help support students, and
Yes.
that's a big deal for all of us. Yeah. So, is there what is your favorite thing about WT as a whole? Like right now, if you were to have to pull a small section out and say, this is what WT is to you, what does that look like? What is that thing?
Well, I think from my perspective is what I've seen has happened in the last 20 years. I used to, when I was in class, I would speak at Tech, at the RIM school. And you have the auditorium and all of those, people around and screens and this and that. And then I would hop in my car and I'd be studying on the way back to class here, and here come my professor with a little sepia machine in where we are. I said, man, 120 miles is different. So I think what we've done with infrastructure is unbelievable in the last 20 years. And we've kept up with that with what we've done educationally. I just when people talk about WT, I just get our awards and go, look. I mean, it's just unbelievable what we've done. I'm so proud of it, to be part of this. So.
Well, you play a major part in this.
Oh, wow.
You are what you bring to the college and the university is it's easy to see on paper, but some of the stuff is just so hard to see on paper or behind the scenes. You're always working, you're always helping out. You're such a big advocate for WT that's such a huge impact to what we do. So if I were to ask you now, let's just jump. I have a little magic crystal ball, and I can show you 20 years from now, WT. What do you want to see What do you want to see in that crystal ball?
I want to see a lot of number ones.
Okay.
And just the continuation of what we're doing. And, sometimes as far as how big our school is, maybe it's not as important as how good we are. And when in each college, it's, but I'm just so impressed with what we've done in 20 years. I can't imagine what we'd do in 40 years, so that's my crystal ball.
I dig it. And so then that will be 20 years from now, it'll be 5th generation, right?
Mm-hmm.
So keep that thing going.
Yeah, we're Dr. Wendler's already talked to my grandson.
Nice. What's the major? What major are they looking at?
For him? Mm-hmm. He's looking at probably engineering or architecture.
That's a hard jump to marketing, but if we need to, I can try to figure out how to pull him over.
Okay.
So we mentioned Glazers, and we mentioned that you were there for 46 years. Can you tell us a little about your job functions, the things that you did, kind of your responsibilities?
I started out as a salesman. I was a liquor and wine salesman.
Okay.
Did that for 9 years down in Lubbock, calling on the infamous Lubbock Strip,
Hmm.
and that was a great place to be because you got a lot of uh, people looking at you, from company wide because
Hmm.
that's where they always wanted to come, and so that I think that helped me an awful lot with our family, with the Glazer family, and the Glazers kind of took me in as one of theirs, and so after 9 years, there were a lot of things started happening. Different places in Texas started going um, wet for alcohol beverage sales, and I was the first manager of Abilene, Texas. We went down there and opened up stores and did this and that. That was quite an experience. To you know, you didn't make calls; you were opening up stores. We did that for about a year, and did that for. I was down there about a year and a half, I guess. Spent a little time in Dallas, but my big move was to San Antonio,
Hmm.
and I was sales manager there. And San Antonio was one of our largest branches that we had, and being one of the top guys there, it was a lot of responsibility from the chain supply side, from vendor side to sales side to customer relations, and like I say, at that time we also covered Austin. So I mean, there was a lot of territory in there. Went almost to the Gulf, uh, and then I was down there for about 5 years, and then in '89 the branch manager's job for Amarillo and Lubbock came up, and I just called him and said, I want that job. And so I got it. In 1989, we moved family back up here because Amarillo is our home.
Hmm.
And it was a wonderful experience. And in 2010, we made some changes, and I became regional sales manager for West Texas, over six sales teams from Amarillo to El Paso. And I did that until I retired, which that was a unique experience. A lot of traveling, but it's pretty easy. Done it for a long time,
Hmm.
but then in 2018, I retired, and I've had a wonderful time and devoted a lot of time here to WT and uh, enjoying retirement.
You're probably busier now with WT than you've ever been before, right?
I am. I am. So my wife and I have to check schedules all the time. She's a sweetie.
We,
So
we need to get you someone here to manage your schedule for all your WT stuff that you've got going
somebody needs to. I forget stuff
on,
sometimes.
especially with October coming up when you have something constantly, right?
Right. Exactly.
So, with your time with Glazers, I hear tell that you also have some ties to Still Austin. Is that something you want to share?
Sure. Sure. I was in office one day, and my assistant rang my phone and said, "There's a gentleman here who'd like to talk to you about starting a distillery." And I said, "Well, send him on back." And met him, and sales manager came in, and we visited with him, and he had this great idea, and he had all the paperwork and stuff done. He wanted to know what he needed to do. So we
Mm.
talked to him. He wanted to start with a gin, and we talked him into starting with a bourbon, and we suggested where he might go. And this went over a couple of months of coming in and visiting. It's just what we didn't do this like in 30 minutes. So. Uh, but anyway, he went down there and he got it started. I visited the distillery, and uh, it's pretty cool, and it's a very successful venture, and I've been involved in that, and also been involved in the kickoff of a little product that's done very well called Tito's Vodka,
Hmm.
and met with him one time. He came up and had a meeting with us and just begged us to get him some placements because he had no financing.
Hmm.
He was hand doing his labels on the bottles. It was amazing. But of course, it's the number one selling vodka in the nation now. So it's been quite a success story with only, let's see, one, two, three, six SKUs.
So do one thing, do it well.
That's right. And he does it extremely well.
So, as you've been a student now at WT, is there anything you have for students currently, maybe even future students like the grandson? What kind of advice would you give?
You need to study. That's for sure. You need to be prepared.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you need to be, you need to be truthful. It's kind of hard for me to explain. In my, you need to know right from wrong. Mm-hmm. And I've had people in my business call me, and ask me my opinion on this, and my opinion is if you have to ask someone if it's right or wrong, it's probably not right. Mm-hmm. So, come in and do the right thing and study and don't waste someone's time, especially yours. It's very important. And the other thing that I do that I tell all these kids when I talk to them is if you're getting your baccalaureate and you're able, continue on and get your MBA or get your terminal degree, whatever you're working on, because it's hard to come back. I can tell you that for a fact. It's hard to come back.
Mm-hmm. Oh, definitely. Once you take a break and you start making, big people money and you start getting big people obligations, I know how tough that can be.
Well, I remember my first time back in class. I went in there and I was all excited and we studied and come time for my first class and anyway, the professor says, "All right, everybody get their Scantrons out." And I went, I had no idea what that was. Yeah. He walked by and handed me one and says, "Why don't you see me after class?"
Who was that?
I can't remember his name. It was his last semester.
Oh, okay. I was curious if that was going to be another. Was it a positive interaction? Were they trying to help you out?
Or? Oh yes, very positive. Fair. Yeah, I had a lot of positive interactions. I think with my coming back to school, I could write a book. I remember speaking to one of these deals one time. I said, well, I started here in 1968. I graduated in 2007. I love college.
Well, I mean, you could always come back again.
Yeah.
You've got a little bit more time right now, so I mean, we've got a couple degrees. Yeah. We have a CISPA program. Yeah. You can learn some computing.
I would have to study.
Yeah, that's part of it. And so you've touched on briefly that you generationally have a tie to WT, but is there something specific to you? What is Pat's tie to WT that makes you want to be a part of everything that you're a part of?
Started out listening to my grandmother talk about WT and how fondly she thought of WT. I can go show you her room right now. It overlooks the street right across from the museum. And she talked about it all the time. And then my dad, he played ball here, and all my aunts and uncles went here. And I remember growing up in Amarillo when we wanted to go, Dad wanted to take the family around, we'd drive down here and drive through the campus. And I still do that now. We'll come down here and we'll get out and just walk and look, and I'm just amazed at what I see. I'm so proud of my heritage and so proud of what WT has done for me. I'm telling you what, West Texas A&M University is probably, next to my family, the most important thing in my life.
Well, that is a great tie that you have, because you can tell based on all that you do and everything that you have done and everything that you will do just how important it is. And we can't thank you enough for all you do in the college. We can't thank you enough for all that you do at the university. So really appreciate you being here. We could go on for hours, but we'll probably call it right here, and hopefully we can get a part 2 maybe in a few weeks after we have Amjad go out and shoot, and we can have a recap of that.
That'd be great.
So again, thank you for being here. Thank you for all that you do. We really appreciate it. And yeah, that's great.
All right. Thanks, Dr. King.
Thanks, sir.